Hi, my name's Phil and I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to draw on two examples, very recent examples of how the Tories are deliberately threatening peace of one form or another, almost inciting violence in fact, because they feel that it's in their political interest to do so. For years we've been suffering serious damage to our country and society, which has from a party which has long since run out of ideas to deliver and has been putting the pretense of party unity ahead of the national interest. And we have just, as I say, been given two very recent examples of this in the last day, in fact. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, Brexit was not just an ideological philosophy for a small but well-organised minority of Tory MPs. It has allowed this same fringe of politics to slowly but surely take control of the government of the country. We have seen the inevitable consequence of such extreme politics being in charge as well. An increase in authoritarian language and legislation being deployed because extreme politics never sits easy with the majority of the population. So the only way to preserve that power is through force. Persuasion just doesn't work. The current state of the Conservative Party is that they are led by a weak leader who desperately needs to hold the various factions of the party together, despite his large majority, in order to work on a potential agenda to win the next election. And I'll talk more about what those plans may be in another video. But for now, let's just look at a couple of the consequences. Because when a Prime Minister is dependent upon the support of the vast majority of their MPs, as they often are, and a sizable minority are prepared to destroy the party for the sake of ideology, you are going to have a problem. You know, with attention on the silver anniversary, for example, of the Good Friday Agreement in April, eyes are on a final settlement with the Northern Ireland Protocol. As part of the push for a rapidly closing window for agreement, Keir Starmer gave a speech in Belfast yesterday. He was one of the few political leaders in Westminster who could probably point Northern Ireland out on a map. Has a little bit of professional knowledge of the area, or some of the issues on the ground anyway, as he was a human rights advisor for the police. He rightly explained that the Good Friday Agreement was not just about the Labour government in place at the time, but the previous Conservative government as well, along with other political leaders in Ireland and beyond, both at the time, before and since. He was making the point that it was a collective political effort which required a real desire on all sides and cooperation. Right now, Rishi Sunak's government is the main barrier to a settlement to the Northern Ireland Protocol. Yes, the DUP are sort of blocking, but being clear, I think Sunak wants a deal, and more than that, I actually also think he wants a realistic deal. Why don't we have it? It's not really objections from the DUP, it's the ERG holding it up. In his speech, Starmer described the ERG as a Brexit purity cult and called for Sunak to stand up to them. He said that they will never be satisfied, so do without them. Of course, Sunak needs the authority to agree a deal. Then Starmer offered that authority. He said that if Sunak comes up with a deal which delivers in the national interest with a particular focus on the people of Northern Ireland, he will give the Prime Minister whatever political cover he needs in order to bypass the demands of the ERG. Now, most people, most voters, are not particularly party political. Like, if you consider at the last general election, 2019, we had about 32 million people voting, just over. If you add up all of the people who are a member of a political party represented in Westminster throughout the UK, I don't think it even adds up to 1 million. Yes, there might be lots of people who habitually vote for a particular party election after election, but they're not totally committed to that party. They vote according to what they feel is the best use of that cross on a ballot paper. And that's to say nothing of the many millions who don't feel that any cross is of benefit, so they don't vote at all. All most people want is for politicians to work for the national interest. You know, as someone, I'm party political and I observe politics quite closely. I can appreciate the realities of party politics, but most people cannot be bothered with it. And it doesn't matter whether they're clever or not so clever, or very knowledgeable about politics or not so knowledgeable. Just most people just want politicians to work together to get things done. The vast majority of people do not want the government wasting time and resources on pointless arguments about the protocol or anything else. But the protocol was part of the oven-ready deal that the Conservatives said was done and dusted. Remember, one of their main arguments in that election campaign for voters, which was like, no, steer clear of Labour. If you elect Labour, they're going to have to negotiate this deal. We've already got it. Oven-ready deal. It's done. It's finished. We vote for us. We can leave the EU and it's all finished. We've got the deal. It's done. We can forget about it. We can concentrate on the things that matter. It's over 3 years since Johnson made that claim and the negotiations are still going on. It could just be argued that a lot of people are a bit sick of this now, particularly when the Conservatives can't even blame anyone else. They do, but they cannot blame anyone else for failing to come to agreement. It's entirely down to them. Sunak could finalise the practical implementation of the protocol very quickly. Indeed, most of the details were worked out and agreed by Michael Gove and Maros Shevchovich a long time ago. Keir Starmer is offering to support Sunak in bringing it over the line. Take the credit for being the Prime Minister that settled the issue. No one cares. Just get it done. But he won't, will he? He won't take Starmer's support in order to bypass the ERG. And why? Because he needs that pretence at party unity that has allowed the ERG to obtain much more influence in politics than their numbers or credibility gives them any right to. Sunak needs them, so he will try to pursue a deal that satisfied the ERG. It will sink him because, as Starmer says, nothing will satisfy them. The same thing happened with Theresa May. She used to complain at Labour for not backing a Brexit deal. Oh, remember those historical losses on her withdrawal agreement. And she kept moaning at Jeremy Corbyn. Why don't Labour vote for it then? Why didn't your MPs vote for it? She excluded Labour from the process of formulating it. She wouldn't work with them. She wouldn't meet with them. She wouldn't discuss things with them. So why on earth should they vote for something that they were not allowed to even discuss? But she never blamed the many Tory MPs who voted against it, including the ones she herself assigned to work on it. The madness of politics when a government is held hostage by political suicide bombers within their own party. So Sunak will reject the chance at political stability in Northern Ireland in favour of this mirage of party unity, because it doesn't exist. They're not united. But this veneer, this show. He'll put the ideology of the ERG above the national interest, just as the growing list of his predecessors did, going right back to David Cameron. There was another example of this as well. Another ERG member of the cabinet, Suella Braverman, came in for criticism from a Holocaust survivor. She described her flight from persecution. She was a refugee in the UK. She went on to criticise Braverman's language against refugees, said that her language has consequences. Braverman gave zero sign that she cares at all. In fact, her response was nothing short of deplorable. I'll link the clip in the description for you to see for yourself. She doesn't care. And by making her the Home Secretary, Sunak shows that he also doesn't care. Does Sunak agree with the hate directed towards refugees? Possibly not. So why does he allow his government to keep pushing it? Because although he may not actually hate people fleeing persecution or believe the lies, he doesn't care about them either, and he doesn't care about the truth. Just as with the Northern Ireland Protocol, he is putting what he believes is his political interests above the national interest or even basic human decency. So Sunak, just as with his predecessors, will stand back and risk political chaos in Northern Ireland, which of course risks violence. He'll stand back and risk hateful lies to be told about vulnerable refugees, even tell the same lies himself, risking violence against people who need our protection, and actually, on a practical level, could be bloody useful to a country which is short 1 million workers right now. A party in government that will do this is one that will never take a stand against injustice, never hold a shielding arm out for the persecuted, never even act in the national interest, because this is harming our economy. Both of these things, the failure to sort out the Northern Ireland Protocol and the lies about refugees, both of them have a very serious negative impact on our economy. But they think it's in their interests, so they join the persecutors. Now, I could say that I think Sunak's making a mistake, that his inaction in Northern Ireland and his attacks on refugees, they're not in line with public sentiment and they're not helpful. I could try to argue he would look like a much stronger leader, could even reinvigorate his party's fortunes if he stood up and be countered, faced people down who are clearly not acting in the national interest. If he's going to lose the election anyway, why not go down like a hero instead of cowering in the bunker hoping for a miracle? Well, probably because he thinks he can actually win. He thinks he's got this small window of opportunity to win, but it relies upon him keeping the ERG on side. But I may talk about that in another video. For now, what these latest two examples show is that the Conservatives in government are a threat to peace. You know, their Brexit-fuelled rhetoric has already provably increased violence in Britain, and they've shown no signs of stopping. Even when one of their own was murdered as a result of hateful rhetoric, it has not stopped them pursuing it for their own ends. They did not pause for 1 second. You know, they are a threat to peace. They've always been a threat to peace, of course. People in Ireland are going, oh, Phil, catch up, will you? But it's like these days they don't even care to deny it. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.